Hey there, Bill Miller here. Talking about emotional abuse. Today I want to talk a little bit about what to expect from your spouse after you have gone through steps 1 through 5, and you've fully admitted that you have been or were an emotional and maybe verbal abuser. You've addressed the reasons as to how that happened in your life, whether it be acknowledging them, forgiving the past, just letting go of it because it was something you couldn't control. Like, as an example, my sister's kidnapping was a big one for me. I had to realize that I couldn't do anything about it one way or another. It was God's doing. He is much smarter than me. He has a plan for all of it somehow, which doesn't make sense to me right now, but it's also not up to me. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't make it happen. I could not make it happen. Sucks that it happened, but I've put it in God's hand, and I've released all of the anger that I had towards the people that did it or person that did it, and now it is now I put it into God's hands, and I know that it will be handled through Him. And so I'm able to now release that anger, get that off my chest, get that off my shoulders, and I feel like I can move forward with an understanding that I miss my sister. I will see her in heaven and give her a gigantic hug. I'm very, very sorry that she went through what she went through, but it's all part of God's bigger plan. And so I'm able to now move forward and not have that anger inside me anymore. It's a very nice feeling when you do that, and it's not something you can say. It's not something you can just say, oh, I forgive. And so now I don't have this anger in me anymore. That's not how it works. You actually have to sometimes dive a little deeper than that. Maybe understand. Maybe a lot of people aren't religious these days, so I don't know how you would do it as far as just understanding. Just that it wasn't you that did it. And there's nothing. One way that helps is to know that, hey, like that person did me wrong back then, and if I still let that bother me today, it just gives that person that much more power. Someone did me wrong when I was a 10-year-old boy. Someone took my sister away from me, and the fact that I have emotionally abused my wife as a 49-year-old man because I still carry hurt and anger with me from that just gives that kidnapper power over me. He ruined my marriage in a way, not exclusively, but he had a negative effect on my marriage, which gives him power. Like, he already took my sister. Don't let him take me and my life and screw up my marriage because I have all this anger and hatred inside me because something that happened to my sister that I had no control over. So you really have to work through it in your mind, a way to get past things that happened. You can't just say, which I hear all the time, but you can't just say, oh, I forgave all that, and moved on, or whatever, but you really didn't forgive all of it. You really have to give it some thought and work through things. Some things easier than others. I know a death, a kidnapping, abuse, sexual abuse. Certain things take a lot of work to get through, to let go of, to release from your body, and so, but it's really, really important. So you've done that. You've taken your patterns, and now, so this, that was step 2. Step 3 is your patterns, giving your patterns thoughts, how to change your patterns, really, really holding yourself accountable for how you react to everything and changing your reactions, because your reactions are what generally be made, those are your abusive patterns, behaviors. Those are what needs to change. So someone does you wrong, whether it be, coworker, spouse, child, whatever, however you reacted before that led you to be an abusive person, stop, think about it for a couple minutes, address it, come at it a different way, in a healthy way, and change that behavior, change those patterns. Now we're past that. Number 5 is kind of understanding, just how to go about, I guess, changing, I don't know, is just showing, when you have things come up that you used to react a certain way, now you're reacting a different way. So you're past, you've acknowledged that, you've acknowledged that this is a behavior that needs changed, and now you're able to change it and show it on a consistent basis. You get challenged a lot. I mean, if you're an abuser, if you are someone that doesn't know how to handle their emotions or process their emotions or understand your thought patterns and things of that nature, things come up a lot that will trigger you, that will put you into that angry mode or whatever, so that's something you have to work on a lot, is changing those behaviors, and you have to do it over and over and over before you start, before that becomes your reflex. Those, the positive behaviors, the positive ways that you react, even to anger. I think, we talked a couple days ago, or I talked to myself a couple days ago about a few things that I'm really, really angry about, which angry always is deemed negative in most people's minds, but I'm really, really angry that I lost my wife because I was an emotional abuser. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not ashamed of being angry about that. I married what I believe to be the perfect person for me. I believed to be the perfect man for her, and if I was the person I am today for her the whole time, I think she would agree that I was the perfect man for her. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was abusive, and I'm angry. I'm angry that I lost her, and I'm angry that she gave up on me so soon. I'm angry that I only, discovered that I was an emotional abuser, and the first time that I had a relapse, and it was due to alcohol, which I've sworn off for probably the rest of my life at this point. That one relapse was enough for her to give up on our marriage, and that makes me angry. But the way I'm handling that anger is different than how I used to handle it. I own a bar. I've got liquor all over the place. If in the past I would be drinking right now. I would be drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. I would crack open a beer or a seltzer and just start drinking and just drink all day and kind of numb myself to the pain that I'm feeling and going through right now. But instead, I've changed all those behaviors. Instead, I'm doing this therapy. I just wrote my wife a letter, which I do every single night, to tell her how much I love her, to tell her how sorry I am, to tell her I miss her, to just, talk about my day, to ask about her day. I read books now. I listen to YouTube every night. I pray a lot now. I go to church again. Those are all the ways that I'm handling my anger. Is I'm making sure that I never feel this way again. I'm making sure that I never hurt somebody again the way I hurt my wife. I'm making sure I never, that I spend the rest of my life being somebody that I can be proud of, and not somebody that I'm ashamed of. Not somebody that I would kick someone's ass if I saw them treating their gal the way I treated my own wife. That's how I'm handling my anger. So anger is not always a bad thing if you handle it right. If you use it as motivation, if you use it as a learning opportunity, whatever it is, there's a lot of different ways to handle anger, and that takes practice, and I'm getting better and better at it, and I'm a little proud of myself for it. And it's okay to be proud of yourself, because we have to do this on our own. That's one of the shitty things about this type of thing. We can see a counselor, we can see a therapist, and that will help us through things for sure. But most of the work happens up here, with us acknowledging who we are, who we were, what got us, what caused us to be that way, and then how we're gonna fix it, and then actually fixing it. All that happens up here. A therapist or a counselor can give you tools to work with, but you've got to work. They literally can hand you a tool bag full of all these things to try. A screwdriver is, your therapist telling you to, take 10 minutes before you respond. So there's that tool, and then there's this tool that says put yourself in their shoes before you respond. But the reality is, it's up to us to use all of the tools that a therapist or counselor or these books or whatever can provide for us, and it's up to us to utilize them, to actually use them, and to actually change our lives and who we were. But what happens after that, once we start making changes, it's going to take work for us, but once we start making changes and the abuse stops, or hopefully stops permanently, but even with a couple of little, a couple of relapses here and there, which most likely for most people are going to happen, because it's really hard to change 49 years of patterns, or 40 years of patterns in 2 weeks. But what's going to happen is your spouse is going to start feeling a lot of anger. As she starts healing, she's going to start thinking about, just like how we did, she's going to start thinking about all the things that you did to her, all of the negative things, all the abusive things that you did. She's going to start thinking about those, like, yeah, that was abuse, and yeah, that was abusive, and she's going to be angry, and you have to let her be. You have to not be upset that she's angry. You have to love her more because she's angry. You have to show her every day that it's okay for you to feel this pain, because I caused this pain, and I will never cause this pain again, and I will support you until you forget all about this pain. And time will heal it. Time will absolutely heal it, as long as you stop it. You'd like to say that, yesterday or today is the last day you ever abused or will ever abuse again. And, a year from now, she's gonna feel so much better about, so many of the things that you were abusive over. And then maybe the triggers or whatever will come, at first once a day. And then maybe, eventually it's going to be once a week, and then eventually it's going to be once a month, to where something will come up that's going to kind of trigger her, and she's going to get upset or feel anxiety over something. But we've got to let them go through that healing process, and we've got to be supportive. We've got to be amazing to them, and that's the only way to, that it's acceptable to do this. I mean, that's the only thing that's acceptable. Not getting upset with them, not trying to rush them, not telling them that they should be better. That's also kind of abusive, telling someone that they need to be better. You support them. You be empathetic to them. And you just love them more than, like when they're having their bad days, those are the days they need a little more love. Not criticism, but love and acceptance and understanding and empathy. And you give them that for as long as it takes. Might be 6 months, might be a year, but you give them that support, because that's who you are going to be for the rest of their lives, and that's what they expect, and that's that's what they deserve. They deserve a good, loving, supportive husband, and that's who we are now. So Don't get frustrated that it takes them a long time. I know, in the 2 weeks that I had with my wife during my healing process, I got frustrated a few times because, I knew that I was changed. I knew that my life had changed. My world changed the day I realized that I was an abuser. But I needed to prove it. I need to prove it to her. And it was going to take a while to prove it to her. And I wanted to speed up. And I was still working. It was very early in my recovery, but I was still working on how to be patient with her and supportive of her. And I just wanted her to forgive me already, like for certain things, like, hey, I'm not that way anymore. You don't need to worry about it. Like, you don't need to feel this way because I'm not going to say anything anymore. I'm not going to be that way anymore. Like, it's hard to not do that because you want so badly for them to see that you're healed, that you're going to treat them better now. But we have to just let them heal on their own, at their own pace, whatever it's going to take, however long it's going to take. You just let it be. They don't want to feel that way. I promise that. They want to heal. They want to feel better. They want to be happy. They want to be healthy in their relationship. They do not want to feel that way. And they're trying. They love you. They're kept you around. They're still with you. So just be great to them. Be trusting. Be empathetic. Be loving. Extra loving. Do sweet things when they need it. And just give them time. Give them whatever time it needs. Okay. Until next time.